husband is right there. And I feel so shy of like recording in front of him. I asked him to put the headsets on because of how shy I feel. So he doesn't hear me. But yeah. And he's watching me. It still makes me very shy. And now he's pulling funny faces. Yeah. Anyway. My name is Tanazia and I am the host of The Cup We Just Touch. And in today's video, I am smiling and blushing a lot because I'm recording in front of my husband. Yeah. I asked him to put headsets on so he doesn't hear me, but I still feel shy and nervous about recording in front of people, so we're stepping out of my comfort zone a little bit here. But anyway, yeah, today's video, at least, is going to be the final book review for the book series of like the Fog Harbor series. We are looking into the final and last book of the Fog Harbor series. Wait, I'm just realizing, I don't know if it's actually like the last book. No, I know it's like the last book, like there's 3 books out released for this, but I don't know if she's like making another one or something. All I know is that I enjoyed it and I am here to talk about it, and I'm not yet really sure how I'm planning on like going about this video, whether I want to go into spoiler details like before or just give you a highlight thing, but I don't know, I think I'm just going to talk about it and see where it goes, let God lead and everything, because honestly, if I can say one thing about this book is that at the end, it totally brought me to like a heartwarming comfort when it comes to like God, and I wasn't expecting that. Like, it made me want to read my Bible. I didn't read my Bible today, but it made me want to open up my Bible and actually read it. So that was a nice feeling. And yeah, I highly recommend this book, definitely. I think I'm obviously going to give it 4 stars with how much I fell in love with it. And sheesh, we're going to talk a bit more about it. Like, we're going to get into that. But basically, let's start off with the fact that the book we're talking about in today's book review is The Voice We Find by Nicole Deese. This is the last book of the Fog Harbor series. Wow, that's been recently released. I don't know when it was released at least. And, I've been reading this book, like the date I started reading this book and the day I actually finished reading this book, it's kind of funny because I've been like reading it here and there since I started. But then today it started yesterday. Yesterday I just felt like sitting there and reading the book. It was like one of those moments where you're like, I'm not having the best of days, I just want to escape into a book, and that's exactly what I did. I wanted to record so much for like the ministry and everything, but then I just felt like God put on my heart, like, it's okay, girly, you can lay there and just read a book. It's okay, it's fine. So that's what I did, and since yesterday I've been reading this book and I finished it today. Let's talk about it. First of all, when I started reading this book series, it was God who told me to read it. He put the image of the book in my mind because I actually couldn't remember the book, like the name of the book, but I could see the image, like, okay, this is the book that I should be reading next. Fine, whatever, I started reading the book, and the book talks about grief. And lately, I have been going through this phase of like, I feel like I've healed in my grief journey, and I'm able to face triggers, cry, be upset, pick myself back up, miss my grandmother, be happy, like, not be happy that she's gone, but like be happy that I've spent time with her in this life, and be happy knowing that she's with Jesus, be happy that, like, look at the positive and the negative of everything. I'm at that point where I feel healed enough like that, but at the same time, there's still days when I feel like there are certain things that I'm still so triggered by that I can't deal with. There are things that I'm so triggered by that I feel like I just want to cry and I don't know how to deal with it. And God and I are working through it. I feel like in some particular areas, it's a lot slower because I'm also like not really surrendering. And this book series that I realize now, especially at the end, focuses on grief. I when I say God is good, I mean God is good. He is so intentional because I am in an awkward stage with my grief journey, and God met me in my grief journey through novels, through something I actually enjoy. So reading these books wasn't necessarily an escape from my grief, an escape from my feelings, but rather it was comfort and motivation to feel emotions that I'm running away from, and actually helped me to learn a few things. I think especially to learn how everybody grieves differently, and it's okay. And something else I also appreciate is the length of the grief, the length of the grief in this entire series. Like, people will take years grieving over the death of somebody. People will take months. People will take a really long time. Hearing all that and reading all that is actually motivating, because it's like, for me, I'm looking at it like, okay, it's about to be 2 years, right? And at times I question to be like, did I really grieve well? Is the timing okay? If I'm still grieving, is that like fine? You know? So all these things are just crossing my mind, and yeah, talking about it, reading about it is quite helpful. But anyway, so that's how I kind of came across the first book, and yeah, Nicole Deese is officially my favorite author. So reading the first book, knowing that it's a part of a series, was like I'm reading the second book. Reading the second book was like I'm reading the third book. And this is not the order of the way I outlined the entire year to go when it comes to books, but I feel like I made a good decision, honestly speaking, because it has been a journey and I'm here for it. So if you are in your grieving process, in your grieving journey, I highly recommend that you read this book series, because it meets you in a way that is like comforting in your grief. It helps you feel like you are seen. And I feel like God actually used these novels to speak to me, to let me know that, He's there for me. He's the comfort in the grief, and we don't have to grieve alone. And on top of that, every grieving moment is real. Every grieving moment can be different, but at the same time, it's just real, and God is here for us. Community is also important also, and no matter how far you run from God in your grief, He's always going to be waiting for you to just look at Him, because He never stopped looking at you. Yeah. Anyway, I've already reviewed the first and the second book, so let's get into today's book. Into today's book, the final book of the series. Let's start with the fact that this has to be one of the hardest books I have read, because literally the names of people in this book are names that I'm just like, really, God? Really? Is this kind of some humor or something? Like, there were 3 outstanding names that I don't want to mention, but there were 3 outstanding names in this book that caught me so off guard and had me feeling like, why are these names mentioned here? This is awkward. Don't do that. Why are you doing this, God? So that was unsettling, and when I started reading the book, I actually just stopped because I couldn't deal with it. Okay, one name I will admit is that my grandmother's name was in this book. I was like, what? So I grew up knowing and calling her for some time Auntie Judy. And then reading this book, even saying that out loud is kind of hard. But yeah, reading this book, there was an aunt called Aunt Judy. That was like, I think a page or 2 into this book, I just switched off the book. The first time I read it, I just switched off the book. I'm like, oh, I'm not doing this, God. You have got to be joking me. And I'm like, okay, the second time I tried reading the book, I'm like, maybe she's not mentioned that often, you know, maybe she's like a passing mention. But she was there throughout the entire book, and I'm like, oh my gosh. I was very, very disappointed by that, but at the same time, reading it was like, it was helping me be comfortable with the reality of life. Yeah. I think what was also really nice though was seeing how this particular woman was a great mother figure. So it was a very nice representation for me and a reminder of who my grandmother was. A mother figure, not just to me, but to like so many people. So that was nice to see. Let's talk a bit about the book though. Let's talk a bit about the book. So in this particular book, we have Sophie and August. And can I just say the book started off with the character August, like his perspective. And I'm like, okay, August. This must be the month. Secondly, the gender of the POV was not revealed until like later. And I'm like, okay, is this a girl or a boy's perspective? I had no idea. I was so confused and everything. And then from there it was like, okay, eventually I caught on to say what was going on. So we've got Sophie and August. These two people. I don't feel like talking about this low-key because I'm just like, it's Sabbath. I wasn't supposed to be recording today. But I also want to talk about this book. So yeah, Sophie, let's start with, I don't know who we're going to start with. Let's start with August, since it was his POV first. August, like, his perspective, let's summarize what's going on in his life. His parents passed away. That was sad, that was heartbreaking, and it was a big deal. In the middle of that, his sister was involved in the same accident that his parents passed away. And his sister is adopted. So the parents had left him as the legal guardian over her. Though an aunt, Aunt Judy, was offering to take her in as the legal guardian because she thought that it might be too much for August. But then August moved back from LA to be with his sister. He didn't want to uproot her and send her that side and everything. And he had a girlfriend there who was possessive, who was manipulative, and all that stuff. And she was just not the best person. And her true character was revealed to him nicely after his parents passed away, and he found out that he's got to like be after his parents passed away and he found he had to be like the legal guardian. She was just like, well, she can come stay here for a bit and then we can ship her off. And he was like, no, we're not doing that, that's my sister. And it, it kind of made him realize that, okay, this girl is not it. My parents were right, I'm breaking up with her. So eventually he left her. He left her and moved back to LA to be with the sister and help her. We find out that, okay, she actually has a hearing problem. So there's some hearing issues going on with her, and it's degenerative, something like that. Yeah, it's not going to get any better, and it's going to get worse to the point where she'll be completely deaf. Her right ear has lost hearing, but there's still some kind of hearing in the left ear. And also in her right ear, we actually see that she can kind of pick up on sounds here and there, especially if she's got like the hearing aids on. But other than that, it's really hard for her to hear anymore. Hence, sign language comes into the picture. This was an amazing part to reading the book, and it also sparked a reminder in me that I've actually been interested in learning sign language. So to be reading about it was amazing, and to discover, because the author, Nicole Deese, went into a detailed understanding, or as much detailed as she could bring across to her readers, an understanding of the whole sign language community. It was a beautiful perspective, and as somebody who is familiar with it, not entirely, but as somebody who is familiar with it, it was really nice to read, nice to understand more, and nice to be reminded that this is what's going on. I loved the perspective. I loved the way she included this community, because it was really nice. It was really nice to see. You don't normally read such situations, like you don't normally read such stuff. Okay, you don't normally read such. So it was really nice to see. I like that the author targets these kind of stories, these kind of like situations in life, because these are things that we often overlook. And what is a gift to us all, being able to talk, being able to listen. Some people don't get that, and that's why it's important to bring awareness to this community and to make sure that they feel included, and not treat them like they're some weirdos, or not treat them like, I don't know, they're just not there, like they're not involved or something. Like, yeah, they are people too, they are normal. I just wanted to go on a bit of a rant about that. So this book talks a bit more about all that and the inclusivity of all that, and it was really nice to read, nice to see. Then he's also, so that's what's going on with her. I'm trying to remember her name. Gabby. Her name was Gabby. Yeah. It starts off with her being at like a summer camp. I don't think it was one from the previous book though. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I picked it up or not. But she went to a summer camp and everything. There was a guy there who actually lives along the same neighborhood as her. Tyler, he's completely deaf, and he had an opportunity where he could like kind of restore his hearing, or like go about something that could help him hear better, but he refused it, and he's just accepted this as his life and continued living like that. His mom is she's a deaf interpretate. Interpretate? Oh my gosh, I forgot the word. I'll just put it on the screen. She's that. She interprets. Nope. I don't know if I'm saying it wrong. But yeah, she does that. She does that. She helps communicate between. She helps form the bridge between a deaf person and somebody that can hear, and somebody that can speak and everything. So it was nice to see that, and she branched out into all that when I think it was when her husband became deaf. I don't remember if it was when he became deaf or when they met like that. I don't remember the detail about their story. They're kind of like a side character, that's why I didn't pay too much attention to it. So yeah, that's their situation. They involve her. She gets involved. This is like Gabby. She gets involved with classes. She gets involved with church. Tyler is like, her man. She has a crush on him and everything. He's got a crush on her. He's a good Christian guy as well. Her faith builds, especially after the accident, and we actually find out, I don't know if I should spoil this now. Maybe we'll get into that. We'll pause there on that. But anyway, August, on the other hand, because he left LA, he was in the music industry, where he's like in the background of it, dealing with like the sound and stuff like that. I think a composer. I think that's what he was called. Yeah. He was doing all that in LA, but then he left that lifestyle to come back home and take care of his sister and everything. And in the middle of all that, he kind of like lost his faith, because his family left on a missionary trip, and they died there. So to him, he's like, why should I be serving the God that you guys literally gave up your lives for, and he wasn't there for me, type of thing. That's what he felt like, at least. And then we see, okay, he moves back, he's got like his little booth and everything. And then Chip, the same guy who's been there since day one. Nicole Deese, if you ever come across my video or something, can I just say, please make a book about this man, because I find it so unfair that we don't hear much about his life, and it's hinted between him and this particular girl that things are working out, and it's just very frustrating, and it makes me feel a lot, okay? It makes me upset that I'm not reading a full story about him, but he's like a side character in all these books. Why is he still a side character? Okay, he should be a main character, I'm just saying. But it's nice to see that low-key in the end, they kind of do end up together. Even if it's not happening, I still say it happens, that they do end up together. Because again, like in the previous book, it was hinted that they do end up together. So I'm tired of the hints. I want an actual thing. I want an actual book. I think I'll definitely write a proper book review. Like, I'll go and type it out in the book reviews category and be like, listen, Nicole Deese, I know you read these book reviews. Please hear me out and make something about Chip. Like, that's all I want. Because I'm tired of him being a side character, yet he's been so involved in everybody's life. Come on. That's my little vent session. Anyway, Chip reaches out to his friend August, And he's like, hey man, listen, I know that you might need a bit of cash because of everything that's going on, because mind you, the rents had left an inheritance and there was insurance and everything, but that only covered so much of Gabby's surgery, the funeral arrangements, the living costs and stuff like that. So in the end, he had to sell a lot of stuff and let go of a lot of things. So the booth he had there at his home, like near his home or something, was just like a little thing for him to do and everything. But at the same time, he's like, hey, I need the money, things are not working out well. So Chip reaches out to him, he's like, hey, I think you need some extra cash. Anyway, the Fog Harbor industry is like, they want to branch out into audiobooks, and you're a composer, you have a booth and everything, can you edit like a lot of audios and stuff like that? Like I can send you a few audiobooks, you can just edit through them and all that good stuff. And he's like, okay, fine, whatever. He eventually agrees to that. And then one day, okay, now we can start talking about Sophie. Sophie over here was a girly in theater, and she was famous. She was out there making a name for herself, but then it eventually came crumbling down when she had a panic attack on stage, and she couldn't, she started getting stage fright. She didn't want to be on stage anymore. Eventually, she had been living in New York for some time, but she realized that she couldn't like stay living in New York at the expense of her friend. That didn't feel right. And then eventually she left that all behind, and she was like, nope, I'm not doing this anymore, I'm leaving, I'm going back home. And what's there waiting for her at home? A family that doesn't love and care for her, a family that just is so distant from her and everything. She's got a manipulative brother who just could not care less about her. Her parents are not really involved in her life, to the point where the dad is actually the one that brought her to the point where she left home at an early age. I think it was 18 or 16, somewhere there. But along that area, she had like somewhere in that age range, she had left home. She wanted to. Her parents, they have like a winery and everything, because her grandmother had a winery and stuff like that. Then it was like a family business. So Sophie and her brother grew up into all that, but the brother was more business mindset than she was. She was more into theater and acting and all that stuff. And the family, the father especially, looked down upon her for this. The father and the brother especially looked down upon her about this, and they were like, nope, not happening, we're not doing this. The father was mad at her and stuff like that. Then she was like, I want to do this is something I really want to do. And eventually she applied and stuff, she did her research and everything, and then she got accepted to a great school. And the dad was like, nope, it's either you choose this and you have no financial relation to me, you've got nothing related to me, like we're done kind of thing, or you stay in the family business. And Sophie's like, oh, okay, no, I'm leaving. What also pushed her over the edge is that at one point she had an attack in the winery place, right? Because they lived in that place as well. So at one point she was like home alone kind of thing, and then she saw that one of the lights were on. She went to go check on what's going on, to be like, oh, did I leave the light on or something? She went to go check, and then she saw that they were like these men robbing. And then one of them takes her, he covers her mouth and stuff like that, and then he puts her in like a cellar or something, and he leaves her there, and she stays there for like a day or so. Like I think it was 2 days maybe. She stayed there for some time, and then in the end she was like so dehydrated and everything. She was found like by one of the workers of the place, because her brother was out and her parents were like on a ski trip or something like that. So she was by herself and she just suffered. That was like a bad experience for her, traumatizing, especially because that cellar was also like really dark, the electricity wasn't there, so she was in the cold by herself. Her grandmother had also passed away some time ago, and the grandmother had left the winery business to the rents, to her sister, to her brother, to Sophie, and she did not leave it to the dad because she didn't love the dad. Like she said, that man is greedy, he's a lustful, not here for it. The mom didn't listen. She was like, whatever. And then eventually all that happened. So then when Sophie admitted to say, this is what happened to me, she overheard the dad like admit to the cop to say, hey, you know what, Sophie's just being dramatic. you're not finding any suspects, you're not doing this and that. Okay, I understand. Whatever. She's a child. She's just being over dramatic. She's being an attention seeker, blah blah blah. And Sophie hears this and she's like, dude, are you serious? I admitted to what I was going through and this is how you treat me. So after all that, she left. She completely left. She went to New York. She met her best friend over there. They started doing acting all together, and it was an amazing time for them until the whole panic attack, which we find out that this is another spoiler. But we find out that she had a panic attack before she was up front, like the day before. She went into the theater to go get her phone and everything, and then they switched the lights off on her, and it was like pitch dark and everything, and she could not stand the dark. And it was a lot for her to deal with. She had a panic attack, then she was brought back to that specific moment. The next day she was on stage, she still had the panic attack. She broke down, she told her friend. Her friend did her best to be there for her, but that was like some pain that she couldn't live with, you know. And it stayed with her for some time, which makes me feel like I should talk about like Gabby's situation. Well, while Gabby was out there, her parents and her, they got into like a train accident. So something happened there, the train accident, whatever. And a lot of people died, the parents included, and Gabby lived. She managed to live. And she said, like, this is her testimony, that she had a rescuer who came to get her, who brought her to people that helped her and was able, and like these people like gave her the help that she like completely needed for full recovery, or that they did the most, they did the best that they possibly could to her. And this rescuer, who we kind of know is Jesus, gives her a Bible verse, leaves her with this Bible verse, that reassures her and everything's gonna be okay. And she wakes up in hospital after some time. She realizes that this is what happened. She lost hearing and all that, but she's trying to tell August to say this is what happened, that this man rescued me, blah 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 blah. August is like, girl, you are crazy. He's especially at a point where he's no longer strong in his faith and he's upset. So yeah, he also left home at a point where he was like in a band, or he was doing like all the music stuff for like the church, not for the church, but like he was strong in his faith until he met that woman, and he started chasing after the worldly lifestyle. So all that just kind of like brought him away from his faith, and then he was further brought away, especially when his parents died. Yeah, okay, let's continue now back to Sophie. And okay, yes, Sophie. So she reaches a point where she's like, you know, I can't keep living off my friend's money. I need to move back home and start a life for myself until I can get over the stage fright as well. So she moves back home, and her parents are not even there to welcome her back. Her brother is being so mean to her. His wife is over there. She's not a bad person, but she's also kind of like very reserved. So we see that, okay, fine, that's what's happening. And then Sophie also has a cat. Just feel like mentioning that. But yeah, he's a rescued cat with one eye. He's blind in one eye, and in the other eye you can see. Fun fact. Anyway, yeah, eventually Sophie gets to a point, you know, she talks to her best friend over the phone. The best friend admits into audiobooks, and she mentions that her friend is doing like audiobooks and is making money from this and stuff like that. And then Sophie's like, oh, let me give this a shot. So she does research about it, and then she gets in touch with Chip. Chip over there is also talking to August over there about audiobooks and recording and stuff like that. So you see how everything is all linked. Then Chip is like, okay, Sophie has nowhere to record. The place where she's at, she can't record there because she's living in a pool house with this construction going on and everything. So this is like at the winery also. It's not really a pleasant description as it sounds, but no. Chip talks to August. August says it's fine. Then after that, we see Sophie and August meet. She records books, and August is falling in love with her slowly. She low-key has a little crush on him, and their little crush kind of just grows the more they spend time together recording books and stuff like that. At one point, Chip was like, hey, I want to get you to record an audiobook with this other guy who's like famous in the industry of audiobooks and stuff like that. She's like, okay, sure. But they did it there with the both of us, with like August there, and the connection between her and this guy, I think his name was Elliot, it wasn't there. There was no connection, there was no vibe. They weren't compatible for the audiobook. That's a bit better. You can see me now. So yeah, as I was saying, what was I saying? Yeah, they just weren't compatible, like Elliot and Sophie. And then in the end, August is like, hey, actually, let me record with you then before we tell Chip that Elliot quit, because Elliot was upset that Sophie and August were not on his side. And he was like, you know what, I'm a good guy, okay? I can make good music, I'm famous, blah, blah, blah. Whatever, Elliot, we don't care. August and Sophie actually end up recording together. And it's amazing to the point where the book that they record is one of, it's like amazing. It sells quite a bit. The book that they record together sells quite a bit. They even have their own hashtag. People are rooting for them and everything. It's cute. It's amazing. We are here for all that. And then that brings in quite a bit of money. I'm talking a bit fast because I'm sharing a lot about the book and going over so much details in the book. So you remember how I say that Gabby's surgery and all that stuff is quite costly because she had to go to the hospital. Okay, they were hospital bills. Let me not just say it was surgery only. They were hospital bills as well. And to try and get her hearing restored was a very low chance of it happening. However, August found somebody who could actually, like, somebody had, like, there was a chance that they could actually help Gabby restore her hearing. And they needed a deposit, which was like a lot of money, and the whole thing was like quite costly. So August didn't talk about it until he like secured the money. And he did this with the book, with the audio deals, and just helping Chip out with the whole audio thing, especially like the whole book thing that he did with Sophie. That brought in quite a bit of money. And we see that, okay, eventually he manages to like secure a date for consultation. He tells Gabby's upset about it because actually we understand that Gabby has no interest in, restoring her hearing, and she doesn't believe in all that anymore. Like, she's accepted her life as being a deaf person, and she has accepted that this is her circumstances, and she's okay with it. She has come to terms with it. And August, it just seems like he's the one living in the shadows right now. He seems like he's the one who's just not accepting what she wants. He's actually even mad at like Tyler for he feels like Tyler is just influencing her to be deaf. He's influencing her to be deaf and become a part of that community. While August is like, no, there's still hope and everything, but she's not having it. He's also not having it. They bicker with each other, and it's a whole thing. At the same time, while all this is happening, we actually understand that, okay, Sophie and her sister-in-law, like her brother's wife, actually grow close as they work together at the winery. And she even, like, the sister-in-law actually stands up for her when some guy is like trying to talk to her at the winery and everything. And Sophie was appreciating that, so that was really nice. And over time we see just little moments where, her name is Natalie and Sophie kind of like get together and they share a lot of just cute moments. And then at one point, at the dinner table by her family, because the family ends up coming back from like a trip, her parents, we see that, okay, fine, Sophie admits that her brother snitches to say that, hey, Sophie has been sneaking out, she's been taking the car, like the company car, and she's been going out and everything. And then Sophie's like, you said I could do it, but he's like, yeah, but still, where are you going? Then the parents are asking, where are you going? What are you doing? I thought you're supposed to be taking the business seriously, blah, 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 blah. Sophie admits of what she's doing. She's getting into like, she's doing audiobooks, and she's going to church, and she's just growing in her faith, and she's enjoying all the stuff. She's actually getting into sign language classes because she wants to understand Gabby better and her community better. And especially Sophie, at this point, Sophie and August make it official. They start dating. It's a magical moment. But then, I don't think it was at this point in the book, but they do actually make it official to say that they're boyfriend and girlfriend, which is so cute, so sweet. Her parents are not happy about it though, especially the dad. The mom is like shocked because her mother, Sophie's grandmother, was very strong in her faith. The woman who left the winery to them and everything. she was very strong in her faith. But the mother, yeah, she kind of lost her faith the more she got involved with the father. So it was a whole thing. So the dad is like pissed off with Sophie. He's like, dude, what are you doing? You're wasting time. Like, he is just so upset, so disappointed her. He's just so upset with her, and he's belittling her in every way possible. The brother is here for it. It's like he's feeding off this, and it's like, dude, what are you doing? That's your sister. But Sophie kind of stands up for herself, or we see that, you know, she's not really backing down from this. She's strong in her faith, and she's not going to let this get to her. That later on encourages Natalie, because we find out that she's actually pregnant. And then we find out to say, hey, what's going on is, oh, I feel like I'm all over the place with this book, but I also feel like it was like quite short. Yeah, I'm all over the place and I'm sorry. But I want to say that we find out she's pregnant. We find out that Natalie is actually working with the FBI. The guy I mentioned earlier that Natalie stands up to just back away from Sophie, that guy is actually an undercover FBI guy. And they're investigating Jasper, Sophie's brother. He is being, like, he has charges against him in relation to, like, fraud, and especially, like, in the art business or something. So he was, like, kind of, what's the word? I don't remember the word for it, but he was sneaking in art in, like, the country and stuff like that, but at the same time he was, like, just fake art or something like that. He was doing all that stuff, and it was fine when he got a cut, but then in the end he wanted control, he wanted power, so he tried to, like, get more involved and do more stuff and stuff like that. It was a whole thing. And then how he was doing it was throwing Natalie under the bus. He kept on getting her to sign stuff and do stuff like this. So at the end of the day, if anything goes wrong, it was going to be her fault. But fortunately, an agent found her and was like, dude, I can tell that you're expecting, so why don't you and I make a deal? This is what's going on with your brother. He's under investigation for this. It's secret, blah, 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 blah. If you want a better life for your child, then this is the route that you should follow, throwing this man under the bus. Natalie agrees to it, and she's like, you know, she's going to put her child first, because actually, you know, the child wasn't brought because of a loving marriage and consensual, and apparently Jasper was out there having one night stands and everything. He was a bad man, very manipulative, very rude, very disrespectful, and he was just very controlling. He was a narcissist, basically. And yeah, Natalie just like, nope, I'm ready to throw this man under the bus because he's ready to do that to me. I don't care how everyone is going to make this look. Eventually she turns to Sophie. She admits all this to Sophie, especially when, you know, they go to the police station. Jasper has been taken into custody. It's a whole thing. But Natalie makes sure to tell Sophie that, hey man, listen, pray for my child, be there for me and everything. And Sophie's like, yeah, you know what? Okay, let's talk a bit more. So Sophie's like, definitely, I'll pray for you, all that stuff. She forgives Natalie because actually Natalie knew, and the brother knew, like, they were involved low-key. Well, the brother was more involved than Natalie was. They were involved with the whole thing that happened to Sophie when she was like a kid, with the whole winery and the break-in and stuff like that. That was because Jasper was actually slacking off in school. He was paying off people to try and keep his grades up and stuff like that. He wasn't the businessman that he appeared to be. It was all lies and all very deceptive, especially to his family. And started off in school and everything, so he's been finessing school like that. And then at one point the lecturer finds out, and he's like, dude, what are you doing? And he's like, you know what, I know that you're interested in wine, let me give you the rarest of my family's wine, blah 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 blah. And the guy's like, okay, deal. So he makes a deal with Jasper. Jasper's like, okay, give me a good grade and a clean record, don't tell anybody about what I've been doing. The lecturer's like, fine, deal. And then after that, the break-in that takes place is because of Jasper's friend. So it was Jasper's friend that actually hurt Sophie like that and left her like that. So Jasper actually knew that Sophie was in that cellar for all that time and let her stay there, be dehydrated, almost die, and be traumatized. And he didn't even stand up for her, he didn't believe her, all that stuff, he didn't believe her. And he kind of just like belittled her with the rents and everything. And also by the time the family came back from like wherever they were, Sophie was already taken care of by like the employees. So when she saw her family, she was like, well, everything was fine with her. and it didn't seem like she had been dying or stuff like that. So the dad was like, dude, you're fine. Why are you complaining like this? You're fine. And Natalie actually covered up for Jasper when the police were investigating, and they were asking her like, hey, where was Jasper? Jasper's like, okay, my alibi is this. I was here with Natalie. Natalie's like, you weren't with me, but okay, I'll cover up for you. So she lies about it, and she's like, yeah, I was with him. It was a whole thing. It was really upsetting, and she asked for forgiveness from Sophie. Sophie forgives her and everything. Okay, now let's rewind a bit to get back into not get back into Jasper and all that stuff, but to get back to August and Sophie. The same night when August finds out that, you know, the book is popular, he's got the money, he makes the booking for the consultation for Gabby, and he tells Gabby. At the same time, he tells Sophie to say, hey, this is what's going on. We're getting famous, we're getting a bonus check, we are getting money, everything is fine. And Sophie admits to him to say, hey, actually, my friend had submitted an audition tape of me like that I made years ago, who I made some time back, and those people are actually interested in auditioning, in having me audition live and everything, so I can tour around in theater and stuff with my best friend. And he's like, okay, and you want my permission to go? And she's like, no, actually, I just want to know where we stand, what's going on. We've been together for some time now, and I want to know where is this leading up to, because they keep getting to a point where they want to say they love each other, but they don't. And she can tell like this guy wants to say it, but something's holding him back. So she's like asking him, what's going on with us? What should I do? And he's like, I told you from the beginning that I'm not going to stop you from holding your dream. So he's basically cowarding up, and he doesn't want to let her in. He's dealing with a lot of hurt, a lot of trauma, a lot of grief, and he's pushing her away. So in that moment, he tells her, you can go. We're done. And they break up. Sophie goes back. She's still kind of like helping Gabby with a project. Gabby's working on this project where at the sign language school that they're going to, she wants to present. So it's like a theater thing that wants to mix sign language into it. It's a whole cute thing. So Gabby wants to do something where she's sharing her testimony of how God met her when her parents had died, and she was there by herself, you know. Nobody was there to help her except literally God himself. And so she asked Sophie to be her speaker. While she was doing the sign language, she wanted Sophie to speak because she couldn't do both. She wasn't at that level where she could read like fast enough and everything. She was still learning. Sophie agrees and everything, so she still made time for that. And they met and stuff like that, but they met at like the school. All that stuff was happening while we see over here August is just like kind of in his own head. He's not okay. He's struggling with all this, and he misses Sophie. He's kind of finding his way back in his relationship with Gabby, but at the same time she's angry with him because he doesn't want to listen to her. It's a whole thing, honestly. In the end, Gabby's like, hey, at the sign language school that you don't want to come to, because he didn't want to go to the sign language school, he didn't want to accept this, he didn't want to go to church, he was not rooting for her and Tyler. He's just like, no, Gabby's my protection, like I'm protecting her, she's my responsibility. He's just like being overprotective. He doesn't want to lose her, and he feels like she's slipping away. So it's a whole thing. Then after that, we see that, okay, at the sign language school, they're hosting like something. They're hosting like an event where people are sharing like different stuff throughout the night, and then at the end, it's Gabby and Sophie. They do that, and August actually watches all this. He listens to Sophie's voice while at the same time seeing pictures and seeing Gabby's sign and everything. And all this is opening his eyes to the truth that actually, you know, he's been wrong. He's wrong to treat Sophie. He's wrong to treat Gabby the way he has been treating her. And at the same time, he's admitting to himself that, you know what, I'm hurting so much and I'm being a coward and I'm pushing Sophie away. I love her and I don't want to hurt her, but I also need to work on myself first. So he takes a step back from that. Him and Gabby work things out and everything. And after that, we see that, okay, that same night, they go back home, they open up a box. This particular box had been sent to them not long after the parents had passed away, like 6 months later or something. And in this box was like special possessions of the parents that because like it was a missionary trip, right? So apparently they had signed something to say that you can give my belongings away, before the trip started. Even Gabby signed it because she went on the same trip. So a lot of the belongings were given away, but the like guy who was doing the whole trip, overseeing everything, he sent back like specific stuff because he was like, hey, I feel like this should actually be sent to you guys, not like given away. So it was the dad's watch and the mom's Bible, and there was something else about it, but I just forgot what it was. There was like a third thing, but I can't remember what it was. So yeah, then we see in the mom's book, in the mom's Bible, she had different notes in there that were prayers for August. And it was very sweet throughout the book. And then we see one of the prayers is the same Bible verse that was spoken over to Gabby when she passed away. This prayer, this Bible verse was dedicated to August, which was linked to the fact that this same Bible verse was said there at the theater, and it's what opened August's eyes up to say that, he have his heart opened up to God, basically. So it was kind of all linked, and then August realized that actually, wait, I am loved. I can get through this and stuff like that. I am loved and I can get through this. And it was a very heartfelt moment, truly speaking. That's what kind of like opened up my heart to God and made me want to read my Bible. And something that they had been talking about throughout this book is the prodigal son. So I feel like, I don't know if that was intentional by the author, but I feel like this book definitely highlights the prodigal son, and I just loved it so much, truly speaking. Anyway, not long after that, August realizes that, okay, he's opening up to God, he's surrendering to God, he's done, he's grieving, he's hurting, but he realizes that God loves him. And in turn, he's like, I love Sophie and I want to be with her. Gabby's like, dude, her flight is tomorrow. She's leaving for that live audition and everything. So he tries to go to see her, but then at the same time, that's when the whole police station situation happens. Eventually, they do meet up with each other. He meets the family. He just meets the mom and Natalie, because the dad is still uncomfortable with everything that's going on. He's upset, he's angry, but the mom is finding a voice for herself because she was always like in the dad's shadows. Natalie was always in the brother's shadows, like Sophie's brother's shadows. And Sophie stood up for herself. She started using her voice. She started speaking up because the more time she spent with August, the more time she opened up to August, told her past, and the more time he just like poured love, patience, compassion, truth into her, the more she also gave it back to him. The more they spent with each other, the more she realized that she needs to face her fears and speak up for herself. At one point, she even went back to that same cellar where she was like traumatized and overcame her fear. That's how Natalie ended up like admitting to her to say, hey, I'm pregnant and everything, please pray for my child. And it was a whole sweet moment. There were so many sweet moments in this book, and I love that it touches on abuse, because I love that it touches on verbal abuse, especially verbal and emotional abuse, because a lot of the time, yes, physical abuse is serious, but verbal and emotional abuse also gets so overlooked, especially spiritual abuse. We forget to say that that's also a thing, and it's often overlooked, yet it is real, and it's heartbreaking. Women out there, people out there are going through this kind of abuse, and it's being overlooked. But it's just as important as physical abuse. So I love that the author brought this up as awareness. I love that she brought up sign language as awareness. I love that she brought up trauma as awareness, because everybody has different trauma and grief throughout this book. So it was amazing to see. Sophie was out there grieving over her family and how they didn't love her, they didn't care for her, they neglected her. And yet they are alive, everything is fine, everyone is alive, everyone is fine. And August out there is grieving over his parents that actually passed away. So that was pretty upsetting and emotional. It was such an emotional roller coaster. I was here for it. But to wrap up the book, basically, was when he did meet the parents, when he did meet, the mom and Natalie, the mom actually admits to say that she's going to talk to the attorney, get people's names taken off, and shut down the business for some time until eventually it reopened and everything, but under new management. And it kind of just got back into what it was meant to be, like a beautiful place where people can get together and enjoy wine. But Jasper and the father, they kind of just made it into more of an aesthetic, into more of a business, into more of a cover up for underground dealings. Well, Jasper did more of that than the dad. So anyway, we see that all that is going on, and the mom is like, nope, I'm standing up for myself, I'm speaking up for myself, we're not doing this anymore. Natalie is also finding a voice for herself, and it's all because Sophie stood up for herself. And I think that was beautiful to see, to say that if one person can be strong in their faith and stand up for themselves, others can be motivated and inspired by that to do the same exact thing. And Gabby did that. Sophie was inspired by Gabby. Sophie inspired her family as well, the family standing up for themselves. And in the end, we're going to see Natalie's child also doing the same thing. So that was really nice. The epilogue, I wasn't expecting it to be like that. I don't expect to finish the book, honestly speaking, because Gabby was writing, well, she wasn't writing, but she was like making voice recordings. And it was like voice recordings that, jots down, like something that's writing, right? She's doing all that, and I thought it was just going to be another voice recording as I was reading it. That was another strange thing. A voice recording. I was reading a voice recording type of stuff. So that was pretty interesting to see, interesting to happen. In this voice recording, Gabby was saying that, hey, she updated us on the fact that Natalie gave birth, healthy baby boy, and Gabby's involved in his life. Everyone is involved. Tyler and her are officially dating, and then Sophie and August are engaged. So that was pretty nice to see. And yeah, the Sophie's mom is involved as well. Like, it was a family. It was small, but it was a family, and it was their family. So that was magical to see as well. Yeah, I was all over the place with this book in particular, and I didn't go into detail about certain stuff. I skipped over a lot of stuff, and I wasn't in chronological order, but I just wanted to share this with you to say that this book was amazing. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I loved the awareness that Nicole Deese brought to this book. Sign language, grief, forgiveness, truly. We see that in this book, because I love, honestly, throughout all these 3 books and part of this entire book series, is the fact that she reminds us, like the author reminds us, to say that, hey, God has forgiven you, you can forgive others. That's what truly impacted me. That's what kept on, being pressed on my heart, that this is the God that loves us. We serve a God that loves us, a God that forgives us, and we can be encouraged by His grace to give it to others as well. And I think what I love the most about reading these novels is literally the fact that we see people not having a relationship with God, but we see God meeting them halfway. We see God in their lives. We see God having intentional moments with them. We see God being involved even when they don't think He is. We see that even though they are doing stuff, they are turning from God, they're denying God, they're not interested, in the end, God is still mentioned, and His name is still glorified, and His hand is still over their lives. That is what I truly love about reading faith-based books, because it also helps me as somebody who feels like a perfectionist in my faith, and I feel like I need to be walking with God. I need to be reading His Word. I need to be praying every single day, every single hour. I need to be doing this and that, or else I am not a good child of God. As somebody who has this mentality and is trying to get out of it, reading books like this really helps, because it's like, okay, yes, they're fictional characters, but I can relate to them, especially somebody who has been grieving, and I feel like God called me to read these books. I see that, okay, this is the God that I serve. The God that is described in this book is the same God that I serve. Because the beautiful thing about these books is literally the fact that there's truth in all this. God is, like, we see His identity in all this, the truth of who He is in all this. Nicole Deese is not just writing for the sake of writing and making up an imaginary God. It's something like that. She's writing a God that is aligned with the truth of His character from the Bible. That is what we see. So faith-based books, faith-based novels, I will highly recommend to Christians, because it brings you closer to God. Sometimes I genuinely think I want to read like other novels and everything, just because, everybody's talking about them, the books, the movies being made about them and stuff like that. Like, I want to watch, I want to be involved in that community. But at the same time, nothing will hit better than reading, nothing will hit better than reading the Bible, but it means a lot, and it's a lot better reading a novel that involves God in it. I personally think so. Like, there's something about it that truly brings you closer to God, and I feel closer to God than I did at the beginning of reading this entire book. And I think, to summarize the entire book series, I would say I'll give the entire book series a 7 out of 10, because I'm mad that they weren't all really related. That Chip brought them together, and yet Chip didn't get his own book. That's what I will say. But I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was a roller coaster of emotions. It helped me with my grief in a way I didn't even realize I needed help. It helped me feel comfortable. It helped me not to feel alone. And I'm just grateful to have had the opportunity to read these books. I'm grateful to have had the opportunity to be able to read. I'm grateful for the opportunity to be doing all this and to be talking about it with you guys. I just want to say that if you're interested, please go ahead and read these books. Yes, I may have spoiled, and I'm sorry, but it is so worth the read, and it really helps you in your faith and your walk with God and in your grief journey. And I always will highly recommend that you read faith-based books as well, especially in the Christian walk. Yeah, I just want to say all that. It was thoroughly good. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I'm here for it, and I highly recommend. 4 out of 5 is the rating I will give this book, and yeah, I loved it. I really loved it. I loved the romance it was giving. It actually motivated me to consider audiobooks. Like, I have mixed feelings about audiobooks, but I've always considered like being involved in audiobooks, like making them, but I'm like, I never really thought about it. So reading about it like this, like I've thought about it, but then I was like, whatever. But reading this is like, actually it's possible. I won't get money anytime soon, but it is something that was like really nice to look into. I don't know. We'll see that in the near future. I don't know if I should even leave that in here, but that's just what I'm thinking. Anyway, let's get into the annotations that I have from this book. I want to share with you a couple of highlights that I have from this book. Let me share with you the annotations that I have, the highlights that I have. We never stop wanting our parents' approval. That one hit home, truly speaking. It's fascinating how much sentimentality a tradition or item can hold. To give some context with this highlight or annotation is literally the fact that they were thinking about like Christmas decorations and everything, and they were talking about how much there's sentimental value in a tradition as well, especially in grief. And I felt that. I truly felt that, because in my grief journey, what has been the hardest thing to do is like birthday presents. My grandmother has always gone all out for me to have the best birthday ever. Throughout the entire time she was alive, she made sure I had an amazing birthday, amazing gifts, amazing everything. And after she passed away, I felt like having a birthday was hard, because she wasn't there to make the day as special for me anymore, which made it even more like heartbreaking, to the point where I look, you want to cry right now. And yeah, that was like something really hard that I had to go through, and I'm still learning, because at the same time I also want to make other people's birthdays just as joyful as my grandmother had made mine. And I think it's something that I want to pass on as a tradition for my future children and everything, and just people in my life, honestly. But yeah, grief hurts in different ways. Anyway, why does anybody lie? He asked, staring off momentarily. Because they're more afraid to face the truth than the consequences of being caught. Nothing is ever random. God has a plan for everything, and we're all a part of it. There is nothing outside his redemption, because redemption is his plan. The silence reminded him to pray. So to give some context for this particular highlight is that the dad didn't want, like, August's dad, he didn't want to fix the radio in the car because he's like, I go up and down to work and everything, and all that time I'm in the car, I can just be spending it praying instead of like listening to something else. So the silence reminded him to pray. Not even the most perfect person on earth is perfect enough to save themselves. That's the irony of grace. We all need a savior, and yet none of us can ever earn what he's already given to us for free. Grief has little respect for privacy. And this context, and like the context for this particular highlight is the fact that at one point, August is like in public, and Chip is like telling him to say, hey man, you got the bonus and everything, you got like extra money and stuff like that. And August is feeling so overwhelmed with joy, but then he starts remembering why he's like been doing all this, and it's all for Gabby. And why is he doing it all for Gabby? Because of his parents. He's doing it all for Gabby because of his parents as well not being there. So it's a whole thing, and he starts breaking down low key, and he's realizing that hey, grief has little respect for privacy. Grief, crying, breaking down, all that stuff can happen at literally any moment in your grieving journey. You want to deal with it in private and everything, but sometimes it just happens in public and there's nothing that you can do about it. The ones who suffer most are the ones who refuse to examine their source of pain. To examine the source of their pain. How can you heal if you're unwilling to face whatever it is you keep shoving down? The death of a relationship has no body to bury or funeral to plan, but the absence of what could have been is a grief all its own. Yeah, that one also hurt. It hit, yeah. My prayers for each are simple. My words often fumbled and unsure, and yet I have faith enough to know they heard. So this is Sophie when, she's doing something and she's like in the middle of prayer as she's doing it. And I loved it so much because it's like God will literally meet us anywhere and he hears our prayers everywhere. There's no expiration date when it comes to surrender or God's grace and forgiveness. The last annotation I have for today's book is that romance is spontaneous and desperate and all-consuming. It simultaneously hollows you out and fills you up, and it always, always leaves you wanting more. Another glance, another touch, another chance to share the same time and space with the one person you can't seem to live without, no matter how much you've tried. Those are all the annotations I have for this particular book, and this was amazing. This was an amazing journey. I thoroughly enjoyed the book series. I'm upset that it's over, and I'm low-key waiting now for another book to come out in relation to this series, though I don't know if it's promised or not, but I'm waiting for it. I'm patiently waiting for it now. I just want to say I thoroughly enjoyed and I highly recommend, and yeah, that should be my read for this month. That sums up my read for the month of March. And next month I'm hoping to just focus on reading 2 non-fictional books. I'm hoping to lock in. I kind of have an idea of what I want to read, but I'm not sure about it. I remember one of the books I want to read. I don't know about the other one because I'm kind of thinking about reading a different book. It's a whole thing, but I will let you guys know when it is time to let you guys know. I'll keep you updated with all of that, and yeah. Thank you guys so much for listening, so much for watching, and again, I don't know if I want to keep, I'm kind of enjoying opening up about the books and telling you about them. It's also nice because I read the books and everything, and I'm like, let me share what the book is about, so it's nice to share this with you, and I still feel a bit shy because I feel like God is the one who put this on my heart firstly to do it with the other book. But I'm still pretty shy about it because this wasn't my intention with book reviews, but here we are, and this is what the book has been about. I don't know if I really don't know how I'm going to keep doing this, but for now, this is how I'm going to keep sharing it, and this is a journey. This platform is literally a journey. Me sharing all this is literally a journey. So yeah. Thank you for watching. Thank you for sticking around this long, and if you enjoyed, please like the video, comment, share, subscribe, all that good stuff, and stay tuned for more, because I share my story on this platform and I allow for God to be glorified on this platform. It is His ministry above all. Ministry that serves Him, serves you, and shares my story. And I share book reviews on this platform too. So yeah, I will keep you guys updated over this